How to get more business clients as a lawyer, your small law firm marketing plan. That's the subject of our discussion today. You're going to want to stay with us for the entire show because my guest today is going to give you the secrets to how to get more clients, more business clients as a lawyer. Join us for this edition of the Inside BS Show. Hey there, folks. It's Dave Lorenzo, and today we're talking to my client of 15 years and my very good friend, Mr. Brad Gross. Brad, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks.
All right. So, Brad, everyone is asking how to get more business clients as a lawyer. They all want a small law firm marketing plan. You are the guy. You're the king of more business clients for law firms.
Looking for my crown.
All right. Let's start with give everybody the 2-minute background of your firm, who you are and what you do, and why business clients are your clients.
So what I do, I'm a technology guy that went to law school. So I speak technology. I speak the lingo of tech providers, managed service providers, companies that need technology to grow or have technology that they want to monetize and commercialize. So the benefit that I bring is I have a grassroots understanding of what they're talking about when they walk in the door. They don't need to teach me about what they do. I know what they do. I've been doing it myself for years and years. I started this boutique law firm just about 10 years ago on the premise that I can fit a very particular niche when it comes to business clients. And specifically, those clients are businesses that have technology, need technology, utilize technology, and it's grown from there.
You've zeroed in on business clients. So if I were just meeting you and I'm starting my own law firm and I were to say, Brad, how do I get business clients as a lawyer? What would your initial reaction be? Because you were doing a lot of the right things when I first met you. So how do you get business clients?
The way to get business clients is to make those clients realize that they need you. One of the biggest mistakes that I made early on in my career, and this was pointed out by you, as a matter of fact, many, many years ago. Has it been 15 years? Wow, it's been a while. Is that lawyers tend to try to tell potential clients how much they know, how smart they are, how wonderful they are, and how successful they can be. But what they don't do is zero in on the pain, zero in on the need of the client. And the way to do that, of course, is to understand the client's business, understand the client's industry from as much of a grassroots level as you can get, and then talk to the client. Ask them, what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Why are you here? Why are you sitting in front of me? Lawyers tend to assume that they understand all this and they know why why customers come to them. They don't. Conversation is the key to business development.
Take us through a small law firm marketing plan, right? You have a plan now. What is your plan to attract business clients? What's your small law firm marketing plan?
Well, my plan is largely based on the premise that you constantly have to cast that line out, right? For all of our fishermen out there. You constantly have to cast the line out because while you might have a lot of fish in your boat right now, 6 months, 8 months from now, you might not. In fact, you probably won't. So you're constantly casting the line. And by doing that, I mean a few things. One, you have to get yourself out there. You have to make yourself known. It's not enough to have success in the court. It's not enough to have a successful deal close. That's not going to get you where you want to be. If you want to get to where you want to be from where you are now, then what you need to do is get yourself out there with writing, with speaking, with industry events, either online or offline, that will put you in a position where people will start to recognize you as you're the man, you're the person to go to. That is the foundation of any business plan. It's the foundation of mine as well. It's why I write. I have articles that I write that are syndicated in different industry magazines. I have a blog that is updated regularly. I have a podcast that's followed by a few thousand people in the industry. I also teach cybersecurity corporate practices. Why do I do that? Well, to keep my finger on the pulse, to constantly make sure I understand the industry and that I understand what the needs are going to be. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of energy, but that's what you need to do if you want to attract clients. I think the days of just sitting back and saying, look at all the degrees that I have on my wall, I think those days are long past.
You are very focused, and you're very targeted on who your ideal client is. How do law firms find clients to target with marketing? How do they hone in on who that exact target is for their law firm marketing?
Well, I think that you have to do some sort of internal and external audit, right? Internal meaning you first have to understand who you're competent enough to speak with. Because if you go beyond the parameters of who you are competently able to communicate with, the person on the other side will quickly realize that. Okay? They'll quickly realize a tech guy in the industry who comes and sits in my office, he or she will know very quickly if I know what I'm talking about in my industry. So you have to first make a realistic understanding, have a realistic understanding of what you can communicate. Okay? Once you do that, once you know what your strengths are and where your powers are going to be, then you can look out into the market and say, all right, someone with my skill set, someone with my understanding of these particular areas, who needs this? Who needs these types of services, right? You don't just market to the tech industry. I didn't put myself out there as an attorney who can help any technology company under the sun. That's not how I market myself. I market myself in two very specific categories. One, managed service providers, providers of technology services that resell, or sometimes they provide those services themselves, but largely they are reselling the technology services of others. That is one niche. The other niche is digital agencies, digital production companies, that I represent several dozens of those. Those are my two areas, and I stick to those areas. Sometimes we'll get clients outside of those areas, but if you're talking about a marketing plan, you can't just market to everybody. So I will either focus on one industry or the other, and that's how I move forward.
And you came up with them because those were your best clients. So you
Right.
built your small law firm marketing plan around who your ideal client was. You didn't
Right.
go out there and just scattershot market to everybody and say, let's see what happens. You went to your best client and you said to your best client, what groups do you belong to? Your best client told you, and then you went after those groups. So share your focus and your marketing plan with folks, and how you honed in. Once you figured out it's these groups, then what did you do to get in front of the groups?
All right. So, I started out when I first got into the industry, right? We're talking very, very early on, 20 years ago or so. I would take any speaking engagement I can get. Anybody who wanted to hear me speak, I was just happy that they would let me in the door. Great. Over time, I was able to become a lot more judicious about who I was speaking with, because I started to see and learn about the bigger players in the industry, the bigger industry consortiums out there. And at some point, I said to myself, I can't spend time talking to the smaller players. That's not where my business is going to come from. They either couldn't afford me, or maybe those players don't understand the value that I brought, and so on. So I did a directional change to focus on certain industry consortiums. And along those lines, with your help, I was able to figure out what the pain points were for the people who belong to those consortiums. There's a reason, right? There's a reason why companies join a consortium and they pay thousands of dollars to be a member of these consortiums. They're not just doing it because they have a couple of $1,000s to spend. They're doing it because they get value, right? They get value because questions are being answered and topics are being raised that are relevant to them. And by getting involved in those, I was able to see what those issues were and candidly leverage my knowledge and my experience to show them how I can help resolve those issues that brought them to the consortium to begin with.
Okay, so you go after these groups and you make a pitch to them for a speaking engagement, and then they invite you to speak, but that's not good enough, right? Because if you just show up and throw up, maybe one or two people come up to you afterwards, and you may get a client if you get lucky. But you have a specific plan, right? You have a specific marketing plan that you use to get clients from speaking. So talk about, answer the question: how do law firms attract clients with speaking? Tell us how you do it.
All right, so here's how I do it. And by the way, 20-second aside. The reason why this plan is even in place is because you actually watched one of my early presentations, and at the end you came up to me and you said, you did a great job up there. You look good, you sound good, you knew what you were talking about. And I said, yeah. And you said, you're not going to get a single client from this group. And you were right. I didn't get a single client from the group. Why? Because it was sort of like the show up, throw up kind of thing that you just mentioned. It was from that day forward that I changed the way I do things.
I did tell you that you are one of the best attorney speakers I had seen, and that you had a real talent for leveraging speaking to get business. And for the folks who are listening or the folks who are watching, it's really important to understand this. Not everyone who's a fantastic speaker is going to be able to use speaking as a business development tool, as a law firm marketing tool for your purposes. So Brad's going to give you the methodology that he uses now, and if you can do what Brad has done with a third of the effectiveness, you probably can use this to get more business. Go ahead, Brad. Give them your plan for speaking.
The plan is this. So I'll have a speaking engagement. All right. Couple of things that I know going into the speaking engagement, right? First, I know that I have to push their pain points. I know I need them to walk out realizing they need me. That's one. Two, I know that I have to have a way to follow up with these people. Follow up is key. If you just speak and there's no follow up, don't bother speaking. So I know a couple of things, right? I know that there's a pain point that I have to hit and there's going to be a follow up. So the first thing I do is when I get up there, is I make it very clear that there are a lot of issues that I'm going to have to, cover here. But, looking at the time, well, look at the watch like I used to wear a watch, look at the phone instead. I'm not going to have time to cover everything, right? So you make it very clear that there's a lot more out there than you're going to even be able to cover. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I do is I then give them very, very relevant, very, very pertinent information, stuff that really pushes their pain point. So they understand that that I know what I'm talking about. I bring the credibility to the table because out of the 10 issues that they face every day, I'm now hitting 4 of them, right off the bat. And of course, there's never enough time to hit 10 of them. You can only hit 4. So the key is to make an offer, right? Make an offer. Listen, I've hit 4 of the issues. I don't have the time for the other 6, but here's what I'll do. Here's sort of the quid pro quo for you showing up and giving me your valuable time. I'm going to give you some of my valuable time back, right? You're going to give me your card, or you're going to give my associate your card, and we're going to schedule a free audit, free time to speak with me about your issues, about those other 6 issues, or anything else that might be bothering you, but generally it's going to be about those 6 issues. So the key is I've now hit their pressure point because I've touched on things that have them worried. I've let them know that there are other things out there that they need to be thinking about. So now they know I have the credibility, and now they're thinking about, he could probably help us resolve those. And then the follow-up, right? The offer. Call me. You're going to have a free audit. There's no risk. It's not like you're, signing up for anything, but you're going to be talking with me, and I clearly know your problems. So how about it? And then, of course, the follow-up is key. Everybody has to have a follow-up call within a few days after the show. Within a few days. You can't wait weeks and weeks and say, remember you saw me? That doesn't work. It has to be a fairly immediate or prompt follow-up. And then, candidly, the clients are yours to lose, right? They're yours to lose at that point because you have them on a call. You have the credibility. They know you understand them. It's yours to lose at that point.
All right, so there are people watching now or people who are listening and they're thinking to themselves, okay, that's great. This guy's got a team. He's working with a dozen people and, he's put all this together. There are two barriers that I want to take away from anyone right now. The first, this is truly a small law firm marketing plan. How many people execute this with you? Three people. Okay.
Three.
And you could probably,
and
if you
actually,
had
at
to,
the event,
if you had to, you could do it with two, right?
Yeah. In fact, often we do. Yes. Two people. That's
Okay.
right.
So it doesn't require a huge team. The second thing is, forget about your travel, because if you're being invited to speak somewhere, hopefully they're paying for your travel. How much does this cost you to implement?
Oh, the cost is minimal. Generally, like you said, we charge a per diem to travel and to speak. Some venues will, pay a per diem to have us come in, but we leverage technology, right? We leverage the technology as far as the follow-up and so forth. That's, it's just part of the average workday. So it's not costing us anything else to send an email and say, hey, we got your card at the event. You want to follow up? Here's when we can schedule you in. So
if we take out the travel, let's assume that you get booked to speak somewhere, they're paying for your travel. This is costing you less than $500 and you're going to get 12, 15, sometimes 20 clients.
Yeah, if you're going to go a cost benefit analysis, it's not even fair to do a cost benefit, because the cost, like you said, $500. Okay, maybe I have to give up a day for the event. All right, so you figure out, well, what could you have billed in that time, right? Great, but you get one client, it more than covers it. You get 5 clients, it's a success. If you're really successful and, knock on whatever wood this desk is made of, we have been, and you get 15, 20, 25 clients or more from an event, right? And then they spread the word by word of mouth. The cost is not even a factor. It's nothing.
All right, let's beat everyone over the head with this again. So you want to get more business clients as a lawyer. You want your small law firm marketing plan. Here it is. First, find your ideal client, right? Brad, how did you find your ideal client? You went to a client and you said, hey, what groups do you belong to, right?
That's it. Ask.
All right.
Ask questions. Talk.
Second step. Once you find those groups, come up with a topic that they feel an enormous amount of pain about in mass, right? And then you develop a talk, a 25-minute talk, sometimes 45 minutes. Sometimes because they've seen you before and you're good, they'll give you 90 minutes or even longer. And you come up with a talk on the topic and you offer to deliver that talk. That's step 2, right, in your small law firm marketing plan. Step 3, make an offer in the talk. Right? Can't cover everything. There's 7 points. I covered 4 today. You want the other 3. You got to get my white paper. Give me your card. I'll send you the white paper. That's step 3. Step 4.
And the offer has to be in the talk, not at the end of the talk only. It has to be in the talk.
Right. Right. So you make the offer in the talk. All right. After you make the offer in the talk, you get back to your office, follow up, and then it's it. That's it. They're yours to lose. These clients, you want business clients. Now, look, this probably works in the business to consumer space too, but it works really well in the business to business space because we know where these people are. Give us, Brad, really quick in the couple of minutes we have left, what are 2 or 3 traps or mistakes to avoid when implementing this small law firm marketing plan? What should we avoid?
So first, avoid assuming that you know everything that your client needs. Okay? Avoid that. Ask the client, ask your potential client, why are you here? How can I help you? You might even say, if you feel awkward saying that, you might even be able to say something like, I think I know why you're here, right? I think I know, but I want to hear it from you. Why are you here?
This is during the follow-up session, during the consultation.
Yes, this is during the follow-up session. Okay. Exactly right.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is a mistake to avoid during the session, if we're going to work chronologically backwards, is forgetting to make the offer. Okay?
Right.
The whole idea of the presentation is to let them know that you have credibility and that they're going to get something for listening to you. If you forget to make the offer in the presentation, if you wait till the end, people might drop off, people might not be paying attention. Their attention is really in the beginning and in the middle, right? It has to be in the beginning. I want you to know there's going to be an offer. Thank you guys for coming today. More about that in a few minutes. So now they're on edge. Oh, what's that offer going to be? And then drop it in the middle. Don't forget to do that. And of course, the third mistake that a lot of law firms make, and we don't, is follow-up. If you don't have follow-up, you're not going to get the clients. You could have 1,000 business cards and half of them want to talk to you. If you don't reach out to them, they probably won't reach out to you. So follow-up is key.
All right. If people want to get a hold of you, Brad, for whatever reason, they got an intellectual property matter they want to refer to you, or they want to ask you questions about your smaller law firm, or they want to ask you, all right, so go back and edit that from if people want to get a hold of you, Brad. So if people want to get a hold of you, Brad, so they have questions they want to ask you about this, or they want to refer an intellectual property matter to you. Intellectual property, you can work with people all over the country, and you do. How can people get in touch with you, Brad Gross?
Either email us at info@bradleygross.com, info@bradleygross.com. Call the office, 954-217-6225.
All right, folks, this has been How to Get More Business Clients as a Lawyer. You received your own small law firm marketing plan here right from a guy who's doing it. The guy does 7 figures with 2 people. He's sitting in a chair, in an office, in a room, by himself. He's making a ton of money. You should be doing this too. This is your small law firm marketing plan. Brad, thank you so much for sharing some of your insight with us today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, folks, that'll do it for this edition of the Inside BS Show. You can join us back here again tomorrow when we share more great information just like this. Until then, my name is Dave Lorenzo, and here's hoping you make a great living and live a great life.